Welcome to Starbound. My name is I'm Duck, and I will be your narrator today. Nearly 500 supporters get early access to our stories, including brand new episodes of Sunspy Academy and Freyren and Rimiki. If you'd like to unlock early access and support new episodes and future series, tap join below to become a Starbound member. Now, let's get into today's episode. They're coming. The words hung in the air of the Galactic Federation High Council chamber like a death sentence. Ambassador Zixvora's eyes blinked in rapid succession, her scaled skin paling to an ashen grey as she delivered the news. High Commander Krethnor slammed his armored fist into the table, sending webbed cracks across its surface. Impossible! Our long-range scanners must be malfunctioning. They're from where? A distressed alien shouted. I verified it myself, Zixvora whispered, her voice trembling. Her species has not only survived on the planet we classified as Death X, but they've developed interstellar travel. It's unclear how long we have before they arrive. Zixvora takes a deep breath. But it isn't long at all. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Some representatives were already drafting emergency evacuation orders. A few simply sat in stunned silence, contemplating the end of everything. Death X. The title alone was enough to make seasoned warriors quiver. The Federation's classification system for habitable worlds only went up to Category 9 Deathworlds. Planets so hostile that evolution produced only the most vicious, hardy species imaginable. But Death X, it broke the scale so thoroughly that the scientists created a new category altogether. Krethnor raised his massive hand, silencing the room. What do we know about them? The Federation's top xenobiologist, Dr. Preltek, stepped forward, his tentacles nervously coiled and uncoiled around his data tablet. Very little, Commander. Their planet experiences regular extinction-level events that would wipe out most civilizations. Devastating climate shifts, tectonic instability, constant radiation bombardment, hyper-aggressive apex predators, and yet, prompted Krethnor. They not only survived, but appear to have thrived. Our probes detected artificial structures on nearly every continent, including locations that our scientists deemed uninhabitable by any conceivable life form. Admiral Yordak, the Federation's most decorated warrior, spoke next. I've mobilized our entire defensive fleet. Whatever emerges from that hellscape will face the full might. They're here, interrupted Zixvora, staring at her communicator. Their ship just dropped out of FTL at the edge of our system. The holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered to life, showing a vessel unlike any they'd seen before. It wasn't particularly large or imposing. In fact, it looked almost cobbled together. Its hull bore scars of meteorite impacts and what appeared to be weapons fire. Crude patches marred its surface, and some sections seemed to be made from entirely different materials than others. That's their warship, Admiral Yordak scoffed. It looks like it's held together with prayer and delusional optimism. As if hearing the insult, the ship suddenly accelerated toward the station. The vessel slowed as it approached the docking bay, settling into place with surprising gentleness. The station's external cameras focused on the airlock, where Federation security forces had gathered in full battle armor, weapons trained on the ship's entry point. The airlock cycled. Pressure equalized. The door slid open. And humanity finally stepped onto the galactic stage. The aliens stared in disbelief. Instead of the hulking monstrosities they expected, what emerged were bipedal creatures of utterly unremarkable appearance. No natural armor, no venomous appendages, no extra organs visible, just soft-looking skin covering relatively small frames. The tallest among them barely reached the shoulder of the average Federation security officer. The lead human sauntered forward, hands tucked casually in the pockets of what appeared to be a non-regulation jacket worn over military fatigues. A strange, rhythmic chewing motion animated their jaw. "Yo!" said Captain Maddox Ryder, blowing a pink bubble with her gum and popping it loudly in the silence. "Nice place you got here. The welcoming committee's a bit extra, though, don't you think?" She gestured toward the dozens of weapons pointed at her team. The Federation translator implants struggled momentarily before converting her casual speech patterns. High Commander Krethnor stepped forward, towering over the human. His forearms, each capable of crushing titanium, flexed menacingly. "I am High Commander Krethnor of the Galactic Federation. State your purpose, creature from Death X." Captain Riker raised an eyebrow. "Death X? That's what you call Earth?" She turned to her crew. "They named our planet Death X. That's metal as hell!" Lieutenant Zephyr Vance, a lanky human with dark skin and a shaved head decorated with intricate geometric patterns, grinned. "Should we tell them about Australia?" Another human, a stocky woman with auburn hair, pulled into a messy bun, snorted. "Or Florida." From behind them, a fourth human with glacial blue eyes and a scar running along his jawline chimed in. "My money's on them finding out about Siberia and just straight up having an aneurysm." $20 says they faint when they hear about free solo climbing, countered Vance. Riker turned back to the increasingly confused aliens. "Earth? We call it Earth. And we're here to establish our place within the solar system." She extended a hand. "Captain Maddox Riker, United Earth Exploration Corps. We come in peace and all that jazz." Krethnor stared at the outstretched hand, bewildered by the gesture. It's a handshake," Riker explained, wiggling her fingers. "Customary greeting. Shows I'm not hiding a weapon. In this hand, at least." She winked. A low murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. The casual mention of concealed weapons seemed to heighten their tension rather than diffuse it. Admiral Yordak pushed past Krethnor, his reptilian features contorted in suspicion. "What horrors forged your species into warriors capable of surviving Death X?" he demanded, expecting tales of constant warfare and evolutionary brutality. Riker shrugged, tracking her unshaken hand. "Oh, you know, the usual ice ages, supervolcanoes, hypercanes, continent killer asteroids, and a casual nuclear age. Nothing special. Oh, and Australia. Seriously, everything there evolved brilliantly murderous. Good times." The silence that followed was deafening. Several Federation officials exchanged horrified glances. One Zurilian diplomat at the back fainted outright, her body hitting the floor with a tinkling sound. "And you survived all of that?" asked Dr. Preltek, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Riker laughed, a sound that somehow made the aliens more uncomfortable. "Buddy, we didn't just survive it, we filmed it. Turned it into entertainment and sold tickets. We call it extreme sports or, disaster tourism. People pay good money to visit active volcanoes." Dr. Preltek's tentacles went limp. "You approach geological catastrophes For amusement? Well, yeah, Lieutenant Vance chimed in. I mean, what else are you gonna do on a weekend? Remain safe with your beloved family unit, one alien suggested. Vance shrugged. We take the whole family unit. Everyone deserves to see flowing lava at least once in their life. The alien paled, distraught with the thought of their precious offspring anywhere near volcanic activity. The scarred human, security specialist Asher Knox, according to his nameplate, pulled out a small metallic device and began flipping it between his fingers. Several security officers instantly trained their weapons on him. Oh, easy there, Knox said, holding up the object. It's just a lighter. For making fire. To demonstrate, he flicked it open, producing a small flame that danced at the tip. 3 alien security officers immediately backed away. One activated an emergency containment protocol, causing energy barriers to flicker to life around the humans. Are you insane? Hissed a mantis-like alien in an environmental suit. You bring open flame into a space station? Knox looked genuinely confused. That's just a zipper, man. Chill. Do not tell me to reduce my body temperature. The alien chittered in alarm. Vance burst out laughing. Dude, chill means relax. It's slang. You are all slang, muttered a Federation officer. The third human, whose nameplate read Dr. Talia Novak, stepped forward, smacking Vance on the back of the head. Will you hush up? Dr. Novak turned toward the traumatized aliens with a diplomatic smile. I apologize for my colleagues. They're a brutish lot, but they mean well. Perhaps we should discuss cultural exchange and potential scientific collaboration. We've brought gifts. She opened a container, revealing several bottles of amber liquid. What is this substance? Asked Zixvora, approaching cautiously. Whiskey, said Dr. Novak, aged 15 years. Fair warning, it's about 40% ethanol. You brought poison as a gift, gasped one of the security officers. Poison? Riker looked confused, then burst out laughing. Oh, no. Well, technically yes, but it's the fun kind of poison. We drink it for enjoyment. You intentionally consume toxins for pleasure? Krethnar's voice had risen several octaves. I mean, most of our favorite things are technically poisons, Vance said with a shrug. Alcohol, caffeine, capsaicin. That's the stuff that makes chili peppers spicy. I mean, we put that shit on everything. At the mention of capsaicin, a gelatinous alien in the back burbled in what appeared to be distress. The substance that causes pain receptors to fire, translated Dr. Preltic, his own tentacles curling in horror. You deliberately ingest a chemical designed to warn of tissue damage? Well, it's more complicated than Dr. Novak started, but was interrupted. Hell yeah, said Knox with enthusiasm. The hotter the better. I've got some Carolina Reaper hot sauce in my personal effects, if anyone wants to try it. Makes your face feel like it's melting. And this sensation is desirable? Asked a Federation medical officer, recording notes frantically. It's an acquired taste, admitted Dr. Novak, but many humans enjoy the endorphin rush that follows the pain. Your species seeks pain for pleasure, stated Admiral Yordak flatly. Only specific kinds of pain, clarified Riker as if that made it better. We're not completely insane. A fifth human emerged from the ship, muscular, tall, with intricate tattoos covering both arms. Captain, engineering reports the phase calibrator took damage coming through that asteroid field. Sewell says it'll be about 8 hours for repairs. Riker nodded. Thanks, Chief Basara. Any casualties? Just Ensign Roberts. Dislocated his shoulder when we hit that big rock. Popped it back in himself and got back to work. Chief Basara delivered this news with casual indifference, as if reporting on the weather. Every alien within earshot froze. Your crew member suffered a skeletal displacement and continued working? Zixvora asked slowly. Basara blinked. Well, yeah, not his first rodeo. Guy used to be a stunt performer before joining the Corps. Says he's dislocated pretty much every joint at some point. As punishment? Ventured an alien diplomat. Nah, for entertainment. People recorded him doing crazy jumps and crashes, then paid to watch it. Basara grinned. I was in the same line of work. Specialty was motorcycle jumps through rings of fire. Good times. Dr. Preltic made a strange gurgling sound and had to be supported by a colleague. I think we're freaking them out, observed Knox with evident amusement. You think? Dr. Novak rolled her eyes. Riker grinned. All right, team, let's dial it back a notch. Remember the cultural sensitivity briefing. Was that the one where they told us not to mention the time you went cave diving during that underwater earthquake? Asked Vance innocently. Riker shot him a look. Not helping. All the time Knox got struck by lightning twice in one day and just walked it off. To be fair, Knox interjected, the second strike barely grazed me. I still think you're lying, Vance said. Everyone knows lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. Knox grimaced. How did NASA even deem you intelligent enough to join the mission? Vance elbowed Knox. Zixfora's four eyes blinked rapidly in sequence. You survived direct contact with atmospheric electricity. Twice? Lightning is quite common on Earth, said Dr. Novak soothingly. But it's rare that it actually contacts humans directly. More deaths are caused by the fires that lightning cause rather than... The lightning causes fires too? An alien voice shrieks from the crowd. Dr. Novak bit her lip helplessly. Look, said Riker, taking command of the situation. We're obviously getting off on the wrong foot here. Yes, Earth is dangerous. Yes, we've adapted to survive there. And yes, sometimes we do crazy shit for fun because, well, when you grow up on a death planet, your baseline for what's crazy gets a little skewed. But we're not here to cause trouble. Then why are you here? Asked Krethnor, still clearly unnerved. Riker's face broke into a genuine smile. Curiosity mainly. When we realized there was a whole galactic community out here, we had to come say hi. Plus, you know, trade opportunities, cultural exchange, maybe swap some tech. The usual first contact stuff. I still want to know more about these ice ages you mentioned, said Dr. Preltic, recovering some of his scientific composure. Your entire planet freezes. Not the whole thing, explained Dr. Novak, but large parts become covered in ice sheets, drastically altering ecosystems and forcing species to adapt or die. And this occurs regularly? Dr. Preltic's curiosity truly began to outshine his fear. Every 100,000 years or so. We're actually in a warm period right now. Dr. Novak stepped closer with a friendly smile. A murmur ran through the aliens, and Dr. Novak quickly realized her mistake. But we're fine with it. Humans evolved during the Ice Age cycles. We're very adaptable. I haven't personally been through an ice age, but I could probably survive one. Knox snorted. Ha! A bit egotistical, don't you think, Doctor? Dr. Novak flipped Knox the bird. Too adaptable, muttered Admiral Yordak. At that moment, something small and furry darted out from behind Chief Basara and scampered across the floor, causing several aliens to leap back in alarm. Rascal! Bellowed Basara. Get back here, you little monster! The creature, which resembled a cross between a squirrel and a ferret with oversized ears, chittered defiantly and climbed up a decorative column.
"What manner of beast is that?"
demanded a security officer, weapon trained on the small intruder. "That's just Roscoe, a ship's morale officer," explained Basara. "He's a sugar glider, totally harmless, unless you're a piece of fruit."
"You brought an uncontained alien life form into this station?"
The security officer's voice rose in pitch. Technically, we're all alien life forms to you," pointed out Vance helpfully, "and he's not dangerous, just mischievous." As if to prove the point, Roscoe launched himself from the column, extending membranes between his limbs to glide gracefully across the room and land on Riker's shoulder. Several aliens gasped at the display. One muttered something about flying vermin. Riker scratched the tiny creature behind the ears. "He's actually pretty smart. Can recognize about 50 words, knows some basic commands. Watch. Rascal, say hello." The sugar glider stood on its hind legs on Riker's shoulder and made a series of chirping sounds while waving a tiny paw. Despite themselves, several aliens let out noises that the human translators interpreted as "aww." "See," said Riker, "we're not so scary. We just want to be friends."
"Friends?"
repeated Krethnor, as if testing the word.
"With a species that considers supervolcanoes a tourist attraction?"
"Hey, at least we're interesting," Riker winked. "Tell you what, how about we move this conversation somewhere more comfortable? Our ship could use some repairs and I wouldn't mind stretching my legs. Plus, I'm dying for a decent cup of coffee. Anyone know if that's available on this station?" "Coffee? You mentioned this before. What is coffee?" inquired Zixvora. "Another poison we consume for pleasure," explained Dr. Novak. "It contains caffeine, a stimulant that—"
"Of course it does,"
sighed Admiral Yordak, "as if these unhinged aliens need stimulants." "It's delicious once you get used to the taste, though," Riker added. "Brought some beans to trade if anyone's interested. Makes you feel energetic after drinking it." "Ah, a combat stimulant." No, well, I mean, I guess. But we mainly drink it for pleasure or to wake up in the morning. Dr. Preltic took frantic notes. "Your species requires chemical assistance to achieve wakefulness?" Not requires," said Dr. Novak. "Enjoys. There's a difference."
"So let me understand,"
said Krethnor, trying to process everything he'd heard.
"Your planet regularly experiences extinction-level events. Everything on it, including the plant's life, has evolved to kill you. You consider this normal. You voluntarily consume substances that would be classified as biological weapons in Federation space. You deliberately seek out dangerous situations for entertainment, and your response to joint dislocations is to pop them back in and continue working?"
"Pretty much sums it up, yeah," nodded Riker. "Though you forgot the part where we domesticated apex predators." Dr. Preltic gestured toward Roscoe. "Is that one of your apex predators?" Riker laughed. "Rascal? No. I swear he just eats fruit. He's too small to be a predator." Riker patted Roscoe's tiny head. "So your apex predators are only large species. I suppose that makes sense." "Well, unless you count venomous snakes," Vance said helpfully. "Or spiders or scorpions, those critters are tiny and can be absolutely lethal." Knox raises his hand in exasperation. "Those aren't apex predators. How the hell are you even on this team?" Vance made an expression like Knox farted while reciting the Bible in Latin. "Huh? What are you even talking about? Of course they're apex predators. Being an apex predator means you're at the top of the food chain with no natural predators. An alien in flowing robes spoke up. By the eternal void, what is wrong with your species? The humans exchanged glances, then burst into laughter. That, said Riker, wiping tears from her eyes, is a question our own scientists have been trying to answer for centuries. Nox raised a hand. To be fair, most humans think what we do is crazy too. We're just the ones who volunteered to fly into space in an experimental warp ship. You're saying you're not representative of average humans? Asked Dr. Preltic hopefully. Oh no, we're pretty average, Riker clarified. I mean, sure, we're explorers and scientists, but the adrenaline junkie thing, the spicy food, the caffeine addiction, the ability to keep going despite injuries, that's all standard.
There are 7 billion more like you on your planet?
Asked Krethnor faintly. 8 billion actually, corrected Dr. Novak. And we're considered a bit tame by some standards. Across the room, a Federation security officer quietly began updating the threat assessment protocols. The classification extinction level threat no longer seemed adequate. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Vance had discovered a bowl of what appeared to be decorative stones in an alcove and was idly juggling 3 of them. Careful with those, warned a horrified attendant. They're ceremonial crystals from Beltrack 7, highly radioactive. Vance caught all 3 smoothly and raised an eyebrow. Radioactive? Like how radioactive are we talking? They emit 20 times the lethal dose for most species, putting them down immediately. Instead of dropping them in panic, Vance calmly placed them in the bowl. Huh. Didn't feel a thing, probably fine. Probably fine! Shrieked the attendant. Dr. Novak hurried over with a scanner from a medical kit. After a quick pass over Vance, she shrugged. Within tolerable exposure limits. Earth's background radiation is higher in some places. We evolved with pretty robust DNA repair mechanisms. The attendant stared at them, mouth agape, then slowly backed away. So, said Riker, clapping her hands together and seemingly oblivious to the existential crisis she'd caused among the gathered representatives of the Galactic Federation. About that coffee, and maybe some food. The trip took longer than expected and I'm starving. Anyone know where we can get a decent meal around here? Preferably something that won't dissolve our insides. Though honestly, after Nox's cookie on the ship, even that might be an improvement. Nox feigned offense. My chili is legendary, Captain. Legendarily lethal, muttered Chief Basara. Pretty sure it violates several weapons conventions. As the humans bantered among themselves, the Federation representatives huddled together in urgent consultation. They can't be serious, whispered Admiral Yordak. No species could evolve under those circumstances. The evidence suggests otherwise, replied Dr. Preltic, and they seem completely unaware of how extraordinary they are. Zixvora nodded. It's like watching children play with antimatter and thinking it's a toy.
What do we do? Asked Krethnor. They clearly have no hostile intent, but they're terrifying.
Terrifying, supplied Admiral Yordak. I was going to say fascinating, admitted Dr. Preltic. Think of what we could learn from them.
Think of what could happen if they sneeze wrong and accidentally start an interstellar incident, countered Yordak.
Krethnor straightened up and made a decision.
We proceed with diplomatic protocol. We show them every courtesy. We learn what we can, and under no circumstances do we do anything that might make them consider us a threat.
Krethnor grimaced.
And we'd better get the hungry ones some food soon. who knows what they eat or are willing to eat when they're hungry.
The others nodded in solemn agreement. Krethnor turned back to the humans who were now taking selfies with the confused security team. Captain Riker had somehow convinced a draconian warrior to pose with the peace sign.
Captain Riker,
he announced formally.
On behalf of the Galactic Federation, I welcome you and your crew. We would be honored to provide accommodation and refreshment while your vessel undergoes repairs.
Riker beamed. Awesome! Lead the way, big guy! Oh, and fair warning. None of us have had caffeine in about 12 hours, so if anyone seems a little grumpy, that's why. This last bit was said with a slight glare toward Vance and Knox. As the strange procession made its way toward the diplomatic quarters, the humans continued to chatter excitedly, pointing out fascinating architectural features and occasionally stopping to take pictures. Dr. Novak fell into step behind Dr. Preltic. I hope we haven't caused too much alarm, she said kindly. We're really quite peaceful most of the time. Most of the time? Echoed Dr. Preltic. Well, nobody's perfect, she said with a shrug, but we're working on it. A few centuries ago we were much worse. Worse? How could you possibly have been worse? Dr. Novak laughed. Oh, you wouldn't believe our history if I told you. But that's all in the past. Now we're just explorers looking to make friends across the stars. Dr. Preltic's many eyes blinked in sequence. Friends, he repeated. Yes, I believe that would be safer for everyone involved. As they continued down the corridor, Knox was regaling several fascinated security officers with a story about something called bull riding, which apparently involved voluntarily mounting an enraged herbivore 20 times human mass specifically because it was trying to kill you. The Federation had prepared for many first contact scenarios over the centuries. Nothing had prepared them for humans. The next day, the Federation decided to test the capabilities of these strange humans. Despite their unimpressive appearance, the claims they made about their homeworld suggested they might possess hidden strengths. The combat arena was prepared, a standard testing ground used to assess the combat capabilities of new species joining the Federation. The humans had agreed enthusiastically, almost as if they were looking forward to it. Warlord Graxthor, champion of the Kothak Empire and the Federation's most accomplished warrior, strode into the arena, standing 12 feet tall with 4 massive arms, each ending in razor-sharp claws. His exoskeleton gleamed under the lights. He had personally conquered 17 planets and defeated the champions of over 30 species. His opponent was Chief Basara, who stood 5'6" in her combat boots. She wore simple athletic clothing and her black hair tied back in a tight braid. This is a mistake, Dr. Preltic whispered to Krethnor in the observation booth. We should stop before the human is killed.
They insisted,
Krethnor replied, though concern was evident in his voice.
They seemed almost excited by the exchange. It's just some friendly sparring.
Down in the arena, Graxthor laughed, the sound like grinding metal.
What is this? Is this some kind of joke? I was promised a warrior from Death X.
Basara finished her stretching routine and bounced lightly on her toes. Hey, big guy, you ever heard of mixed martial arts? The translator converted her words, but the concept didn't register with Graxthor, who merely snarled in response. No? How about leverage and center of gravity? Newton's law of motion? She cracked her knuckles. Don't worry, practical demonstration coming right up. The signal to begin sounded. Graxthor charged, all four arms extended to grab the tiny human. What happened next would be replayed in Federation military academies for generations to come. Basaris sidestepped the charge with surprising speed, grabbed one of Graxthor's lower arms and used his own momentum to topple the massive warrior. As he stumbled, she swept his legs, sending him crashing to the ground with a thunderous impact. Before he could recover, she had somehow maneuvered into his back, applying pressure to a joint where his exoskeleton was thinnest. 30 seconds after the match began, Warlord Graxthor, conqueror of 17 planets, tapped the ground in surrender, his arm hyperextended in a direction evolution had never intended. The arena fell silent in shock. Chief Basara immediately released him and offered a hand up. "Good fight, man. You almost had me there with the initial charge. Nice speed for your size." Graxthor stared at her in disbelief, then accepted the help, his mouth clicking in what the humans would later learn was profound respect. The demonstration continued with other tests. Dr. Novak casually handled specimens of flora and fauna that Federation scientists kept in Level 4 containment. Lieutenant Vance demonstrated human endurance by running and walking continuously for hours without showing significant fatigue, explaining concepts like ultramarathons and persistence hunting to the increasingly disturbed audience. Then came the most shocking revelation. "So, how do you handle the megafauna on your world?" asked Dr. Preltic during a scientific exchange. "Our probes detected predatory creatures that would qualify as bioweapons in Federation space." Dr. Novak brightened. "Oh, you mean like dogs and cats? Here, I've got pictures." She displayed images of humans with various Earth animals, a man sleeping with a massive wolf-like creature draped across his chest, a woman hand-feeding a predatory bird, children petting enormous reptiles at something called a zoo. "This one's my favorite," she said, showing a video of a muscular human swimming with a massive aquatic predator. "My brother works in ocean conservation. That's him swimming with a great white shark." "You entered the water with that creature voluntarily?" stammered Zixvora. "Well, yeah, how else would you study them?" Novak looked genuinely confused. "Remote drones? Protective barriers? Genetic sampling of deceased specimens?" suggested Dr. Preltic. Novak nodded. "I mean, we use those as well where we can." Riker, who had wandered over, laughed. "Where's the fun in that? Nah, we prefer the hands-on approach. We don't just handle the dangerous stuff on our planet, we adapt them."
"You domesticated apex predators for companionship?"
Admiral Yordak looked faint. "Sure did," Riker said proudly. "We'll domesticate anything if it's cute or useless enough, or impressive enough. Some people keep big cats as pets, though that's illegal in most places now. Safety concerns and all that."
"Safety concerns," repeated Admiral Yordak weakly. "For the humans?"
"No, for the animals," corrected Novak. "Conservation ethics. Big cats belong in the wild, not in private collections." The Federation representatives exchanged glances that conveyed a single, unified thought. What kind of monsters had they just encountered? Once initial contact had been established, the Federation began a thorough study of human history and culture based on the extensive data the humans had freely shared. The research team was established with the Federation's top minds, led by Dr. Preltic. 3 days later, the entire research team requested psychological counseling. High Commander Krethnar called an emergency meeting.
"Report,"
he demanded as he entered the conference room.
"What have you discovered about the humans that has traumatized our research team?"
Dr. Preltic's tentacles were unusually pale.
"Commander, the humans are... they're..."
"Spit it out, Doctor. They're insane, sir. All of them. Their entire species.
Krethnor frowned.
Explain.
Dr. Preltic activated the holoprojector.
Let me show you instead.
The display showed humans engaged in various activities that made the assembled Federation officials gasp in horror. Humans leaping from perfectly functioning aerial vehicles with nothing but fabric to slow their descent. Humans willingly hurtling down frozen mountain slopes on thin boards. Humans climbing sheer rock faces without any safety equipment. Humans diving into ocean depths that would crush most Federation pressure vehicles.
And these aren't even their warriors, explained Dr. Preltic. These are their recreational activities. Things they do for fun during what they call vacations.
There must be some explanation, insisted Admiral Yordak. Perhaps they're a genetically engineered subspecies.
No, sir. It gets worse.
Dr. Preltic changed the display to show human historical documents.
Their history is full of war, as we expected from a Deathworld species. But the way they fight...
The images showed humans continuing to fight despite grievous injuries that would incapacitate any rational being.
They have a phrase, Dr. Preltic continued. It's just a flesh wound. It's from a comedic entertainment program where a warrior has his limbs systematically removed and insists he can continue fighting. They find this humorous.
Several Federation medical officers present needed to excuse themselves.
We discovered numerous accounts of injured humans who continue to function despite wounds that our medical simulations insist should be immediately fatal. One human pilot continued flying his damaged aircraft after losing both legs to enemy fire. Another swam through shark-infested waters with half his body severely burned to reach allies. A female human performed emergency surgery on herself in an isolated environment.
And they survived these ordeals? Asked Sixfora in disbelief.
Not only survived, they often made full recoveries and returned to their previous activities,
confirmed Dr. Preltic.
When questioned about these incidents, the humans we interviewed merely shrugged and said things like, "You do what you got to do," or "Humans are pretty tough."
The meeting was interrupted when Captain Riker entered, accompanied by Lieutenant Vance. Both looked concerned. "Hey, sorry to barge in," Riker said, "but Vance, you had a little accident in your engineering section, and we were wondering if you had a first aid kit or something." Everyone turned to look at Vance, who was holding a cloth to his arm. Blood, bright red and alarmingly copious, was seeping through the makeshift bandage.
"By the void," explained Krethnor. "What happened? Medical emergency in the conference room."
Whoa, said Vance, looking embarrassed. "It's not that serious. I was helping your engineers with that power coupling issue, and my hand slipped. Got a decent cut, but nothing major." Dr. Preltic rushed over with the scanner, his professional curiosity overcoming his horror.
"This requires immediate medical attention. You've severed a major blood vessel."
Vance peered at the wound as if mildly interested. "No, missed the artery, just nicked a vein. Could probably use a few stitches, though." "Stitches?" repeated a Federation medical officer weakly. "Yeah, you know, needle and thread to sew it closed." Vance looked around at their horrified expressions. "You guys don't do stitches? How do you close wounds?"
"Cellular regeneration therapy. Synthetic bonding agents, not primitive sewing."
The medical officer practically shrieked. Riker shrugged. "That sounds fancy. Back on my first deep space mission, our doc was out cold after a meteor hit, so I switched up the navigator with dental floss and vodka for sterilization. Worked great, though he's got a scar shaped like his smiley face now. My bad." The room fell silent as everyone stared at the two humans. "What?" asked Riker, genuinely confused by their reaction. Commander Zernvak, who had been silently observing until now, abruptly stood and walked out of the room. Those close to the door could hear what sounded suspiciously like existential screaming from the corridor. 1 month after first contact, the Galactic Federation High Council convened in a closed session to discuss the human situation as it had come to be known. High Commander Krethnor stood before the assembled representatives of over 300 worlds. The chamber was unusually subdued. The normal political bickering had been replaced by a unified sense of existential dread.
"Distinguished representatives," he began, "we have completed our initial assessment of the species known as humans, and must now formally present our findings and recommendations."
He activated the central holo display, showing an ordinary-looking human female.
"This is an average human, unremarkable by most physical standards, not particularly strong compared to many Federation species, limited sensory capabilities, no natural weapons, no redundant organs, no protective exoskeleton."
He paused, letting the image rotate.
"And yet, this is the most terrifying species we've ever encountered."
The display changed to show a compilation of human activities that had been documented over the past month. Captain Riker casually handling a Zarnian fire beetle, a creature whose touch caused third-degree burns to most species, to remove it from a conference room, remarking that it was kinda cute and less angry than a hornet. Dr. Novak working continuously for 72 hours without sleep to help develop a cure for a Federation colony world facing a pandemic, claiming she was just a little tired and that this was normal during med school. Lieutenant Vance challenging a Gronthian honor guard to a strength competition and winning through what he called leverage and proper technique, despite the Gronthian having 4 times his muscle mass. Sergeant Kazan teaching a self-defense class to Federation diplomats where she demonstrated how to disable opponents 3 times her size using everyday objects like writing implements and dining utensils.
"The humans are not the strongest, fastest, or most physically durable species in the galaxy," continued Krethnor. "They are, however, without question, the most adaptable, tenacious, and frankly, terrifying species we have ever documented."
Admiral Yordak stepped forward to continue the briefing.
"Military assessment. Despite their physical limitations, humans would be nearly impossible to defeat in conventional warfare. They have evolved on a planet that has tried to kill them in every conceivable way, and their response has been to weaponize their environment, turn predators into companions, and treat lethal environments and situations as entertainment."
Dr. Preltic followed with the scientific assessment. "Their biochemistry is equally horrifying. They can ingest substances that would kill most species and experience them as pleasant. They consume fermented toxins regularly. They seek out plants that cause pain receptors to fire. Spicy food, they call it, as a delicacy." Zixvora delivered the diplomatic analysis. Psychologically, they exhibit a mixture of traits that should not coexist in a sentient species. They are simultaneously the most warlike and the most compassionate beings we've encountered. They will fight to the death over perceived insults to their social units. "Don't talk about my mom" is apparently a serious threat. Yet they will also risk their lives to save complete strangers, even members of other species.
"Their history suggests they fight primarily amongst themselves," added Krethnor, "turning their Deathworld survival traits against each other, yet they show remarkable unity when facing external threats. Our simulations suggest that any aggression against humans would simply cause them to stop fighting each other and direct their full terrifying attention to the new threat."
The chamber sat in stunned silence as the implications sank in.
Our recommendation, concluded Krethnor, is simple. Full diplomatic integration with extremely cautious cultural exchange. Under no circumstances should any Federation member species take actions that might be perceived as hostile by humans. The potential consequences are unacceptable.
As the council debated the recommendation, a commotion at the chamber doors drew everyone's attention. Captain Riker entered, followed by a crew and several other humans who had arrived on a second ship. They were carrying large containers. "Sorry to crash the party," Riker said cheerfully, "but we thought you all might be hungry. We noticed you've been in session for like 8 hours, so we brought snacks." The humans began distributing what appeared to be food and beverages. "We weren't sure what everyone can eat," explained Dr. Novak, "so we brought a variety. These are vegetable-based, these contain proteins, these are synthesized to be compatible with methane breathers." Krethnor approached cautiously.
"Captain Riker, this is a closed High Council session. How did you gain entry?"
Riker shrugged. "Your security system had a backdoor exploit. Don't worry, Vance patched it for you after we got in. You're welcome." Vance gave a thumbs up from where he was cheerfully showing an Arcosian delegate how to open a beer bottle with his teeth. "Plus," added Riker, "we just signed the preliminary alliance treaty with our diplomatic corps, so technically we're all friends now, right? Oh, and we established trade agreements with 17 of your members' worlds this morning. Turns out everybody wants our coffee. Who knew?" Krethnor looked to Zixvora in confusion. The diplomatic chief nodded in confirmation. "The humans move very quickly once they decide on a course of action," she explained. "Their negotiation style is efficient." A young human woman approached Krethnor with a tray. "Hi, I'm Ensign Solari. Wanna try a marshmallow? They're mostly sugar, but like the good kind of sugar." Krethnor found himself accepting the soft white cube before he realized what he was doing.
"Thank you, Ensign."
Across the chamber, humans were mingling with Federation representatives sharing food, drinks, and stories. The atmosphere transformed from tense deliberation to something approaching a social gathering. "You know," said Riker, appearing at Krethnor's side with a drink in hand, "when we first detected your communication signals, some of our people were worried you might be hostile. History and all that, but I told them, any species that manages to form a galactic federation of hundreds of worlds without blowing themselves up has gotta have their act together. Looks like I was right." She raised her glass in a toast. "To new friends across the stars, yeah?" Krethnor found himself raising his own glass in response, a smile forming despite himself.
"To new friends."
As the impromptu celebration continued around them, Admiral Yordak leaned closer to whisper to Krethnor.
"They've completely derailed our security assessment meeting."
Krethnor nodded.
"Yes, and transformed it into a diplomatic victory for themselves, without a single threat being issued. Most impressive." "Should we be concerned?"
Krethnor watched as Sergeant Kazem arm-wrestled a Grontian warrior while simultaneously explaining the rules of beer pong to a group of fascinated diplomats.
"I believe," he said slowly, "that the humans have already decided we are their friends, not their enemies. Let us be grateful for that. I suspect we would not enjoy the alternative."
Across the room, Dr. Novak was earnestly explaining to Dr. Preltic, No, we don't actually have a death wish. We just like to, push boundaries, test limits, see what's possible." "But why?" asked the bewildered xenobiologist. "Why risk harm for no survival advantage?" Novak thought for a moment, then smiled. "I guess because we can. Because we've been surviving Earth, for so long that just surviving isn't enough anymore. We crave continuous improvement and exploration." As the Federation came to terms with humanity's place in the galactic community, one thing became increasingly clear. They had been right to fear the emergence of a species from the deadliest known world in the universe. They had just been wrong about what form that fear should take. The strongest Deathworld species had finally stepped onto the galactic stage with coffee and whiskey in tow.